welcome back to the Tiger Basketball Report podcast. We got a bit of a skeleton crew today. It's just me, Sam Shoemaker, joined by one of the best co-hosts in all the land, Landon Speck. What's up, Landon? How are you, man?
Man, I'm great. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So we can just dive right into it, right? We're recording this on Friday morning, November 22nd. Last night, the Memphis Tigers basketball team took down San Francisco 68-64 in what was an interesting game, that's for sure. I know Landon has a lot of thoughts on it. You can just go ahead and get into it.
Man, classic Memphis in the first half. They start slow, not looking great. They can't make a shot. They shot 21%, something like that, give or take, in the first half. It was bad. The whole game, not just the first half, it felt like there was a whistle blowing every 5 seconds. Whether it was correct or not, there was just whistles flying.
And it didn't feel like it was on one side. They didn't feel like the refs were cheering for San Francisco or Memphis. They were just horrible. Like, they just blew their whistle like they got paid per call is what it felt like.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. I saw multiple tweets on the X timeline, about that last night.
Yeah.
But the first half, it was, obviously they weren't scoring. I think that at the 12-12 mark, I remember, they were 2 for 11 from the field. And that pretty much continued the entire half. I will say, the defense in the first half, as it was most of the game, was just absolutely suffocating. Except when they fouled. Well, allegedly fouled.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. But it was suffocating defense, just like what we're used to seeing from penny teams here at Memphis throughout his entire tenure. And they were kind of hanging around. And there was, though, at the end of the first half, San Francisco got a little bit of momentum. They ended up going down 9 or so at one point when they had really had it between 6 and 7 most of the time. But I think at halftime for this game for Memphis, you're looking up. You haven't made any shots. You've turned the ball over. Basically, offensively, nothing has gone right.
Yeah.
And yet you look up and you're on the road and you're still down by 9.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty much a miracle for how to get the game going.
Yeah, I remember vividly last year, you talk about this suffocating defense and then the alleged fouls, and part of the problem is, you only have limited guys, right? And then they're also getting in foul trouble. So if there's a game ref like this, because I remember last year, Caleb Mills would get 2 fouls and he would sit the entire first half, right? He wouldn't come back in, or just everyone on the roster, because you have the guys to do that. But now you had Jourdain ended up fouling out, Colby Rogers finished with 4, and then you had 3 other guys finish with 3, and a bunch of them were playing with 2, 3, 4 fouls in times that they wouldn't normally. So that was really interesting to see that Memphis is going to have to adjust to that.
Yeah, Rogers had 4 fouls with 15:37 in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, that dude was just restricted the whole time, basically.
Yeah. He ended up making 3 threes for the Tigers. He didn't have the best day, but this Tigers team is going to – they shot 7 for 19 from 3, which is 37% essentially, which is all you can really expect out of this Tigers team. I was looking at the stats. Now Memphis is the 3rd best three-point shooting team in the country as far as statistics go.
Hang the banner.
Yeah, hang the banner. Right, because they were first before this game. They're only where was this? They are the 319th team in Division I basketball as far as 3-point attempts go, with 18.5 a game, which I think is a good thing. Memphis understands that they're not a 3-point shooting team, and they're playing like it. But Landon, are we gonna stop watching the first halves to these games? Because it's like it's just 2 different teams. I tweeted out that Penny has his secret stuff that he gives these guys, but what's the point of watching the first half anymore? You know what I mean?
It definitely feels like that.
I can maybe take a nap and then come back, or
yeah, definitely. That's definitely what it's been like. I think you also said, I saw you say you just don't know what he tells them. Who knows what Penny's doing?
What do you think it is?
I couldn't tell you. I've never seen anything like it.
And so obviously beginning of the season, Rick Stansberry and you had all these other staff changes that you have. I think it's really impressive that 4 games in, we've seen Memphis Tiger teams implode before, right? But
oh, for sure.
I tweeted this out also. Man, I'm just recycling all my all my Twitter stuff.
If you don't follow Sam on Twitter, go follow Sam on Twitter.
S_Shoemaker52.
You can read the pod before we do it. There you go.
Yeah. In 4 games, Memphis is losing first halves 127 to 145, and they're 4-0. So
that's unbelievable.
You're losing these first halves and you're winning. I think it's really a testament to this coaching staff and to Mike Davis and Nolan Smith and all these guys Penny has brought in and elevated to new positions, that and also Penny also being able to, I don't know, just make adjustments at half. Because even if you're up or you're down, it's so important to make adjustments at half, and that's what this Tiger team's doing. But
they're doing it awesome.
Yeah, I know you have
At
a lot
high
of
level.
thoughts on Dane Danger. What did you see from him? He was likely the game MVP. He had 18 points, 7 rebounds, looked really good. What did you see?
He was the best player on the floor. And
Yeah.
he didn't start for the first time this season. Who knows if he took anything from that or not. Musa Cisse got his first start of the year. Danger ended up just being the alpha on the floor. He played 26 minutes. Like you said, he had 18. He was efficient. And I think this is something that I was thinking of throughout the game. I think it's easy for a lot of fans to look at these 2 5s for the team, Dane Danger and Musa Cisse, and see them as similar players because neither of them shoots the 3-ball well. Well, I think Danger in the game just brings a completely different dynamic offensively for Memphis because Dane Danger, although he can't shoot from the outside, he's skilled. He's a skilled basketball player. He can get the ball in the high post or on the low block, and he can put a move on a defender, and he can get to the hole. He can pass a little bit. He's very mobile for a big guy.
Yeah.
And even though he doesn't bring that stretch the floor 3-point shooting ability, he gives you a completely different look at the 5 spot than Cisse does on offense, and I think it's good for the team. I think Danger is unbelievable for Memphis. He plays with a lot of energy. He's long. There was so many times where when Danger was in the game, his length was a difference maker on defense.
His defense was incredible.
It was incredible, and usually that's what you think you would be getting with Cisse that you would not be getting with Danger. But last night, at least, that just was not the case. Danger was doing everything Musa could do and more, which that's no slight to Musa. Memphis is gonna need Musa Cisse this season to contribute big time. They're going to. It's just last night. It was Dane Danger's night. He was doing it all for the Tigers, and there's absolutely no shot they win that game without him.
Yeah, and I think what's impressive about this game is, we've talked about how good of an opponent San Francisco is. They're a real threat in the West Coast Conference. It's probably Gonzaga's conference to lose.
Yeah, it's Gonzaga's, and then there's St. Mary's and San Fran. That's usually it.
Yeah, and they're going to compete for a tournament spot all year. I feel like this is the first opponent Memphis has had that's actually going to have a real shot at the tournament. Is that a hot take?
No,
I don't think Missouri's close to that.
Yeah,
UNLV maybe. I don't see that.
I don't see that either. Ohio's underwhelmed, as we talked about in the last episode.
We actually haven't had a pod since the episode. Of course, we're not going to really go over that much. The main focus of this will be the San Francisco game because so much happened. It was such an interesting thing. You talk about Dane Danger. He's listed at like 6'8", 6'9"?
For sure, yeah.
I think he's listed at 6'9". Like his pro day number was like 6'8" or something like that. So that's what his official number is. But he has this 7'3" wingspan. Like it looks like it.
It definitely looks like it.
It looks like his arms go down to his knees. And then he was just staying on his feet. He was moving his feet. You talked about his athleticism. He was moving really well on defense. He really held down the paint, and that's kind of what you would think Musa would do, right? And that's not a slight to Musa. Musa had 4 blocks. So Musa didn't have, the worst game in the world, and you talk about it, Memphis is going to need this guy in the future, but it was really cool seeing Danger operate in the high post because, Memphis isn't going to be a team that shoots 43s a game, right?
Right.
So you're going to need that high post presence, and Danger actually had 0 assists in this game, but we've seen it. He has the playmaking gene, and over the course of the offseason, I spent the entire time hyping up Danger about, man, welcome to the danger zone. I've heard rumblings of how good this young man is about to be. And honestly, he was fairly underwhelming through the Tigers' first 3 games. But I'd say this was a good breaking out party for Danger.
It was a great coming out party for Dane Danger. This looked like the Dane Danger we saw in the NCAA tournament for Illinois last season.
Yeah.
I think that's what Tiger fans are hoping they were getting with him. He was the first player to commit to Memphis in the portal cycle, so he kind of got the whole thing going. He did. I do want to highlight. It was at the end of the game. Memphis was shooting free throws. I apologize. I forgot exactly who was shooting, but Danger got an offensive rebound off a missed free throw. That essentially won the game.
Yeah.
It won the game. I mean, he was out there just making winning plays. He was winning basketball plays. It was just an unbelievable performance from Dane Danger.
And what's impressive about this game is before today, you kind of are thinking Memphis is going to go as far as P.J. Haggerty's going to take them, right?
Right.
He ended up with 13 points, and then he hit those big free throws. Well, those can't be understated. He didn't have a great game, but has he missed a free throw at at the end of the game yet. I don't think he has.
I don't think he has. Not in the clutch. He's the closer for sure. He's the closer.
He has
plays
a clutch
that role.
team.
Yeah, he has it.
He finished 7 of 8 from the free throw line. Certainly not his best day, but I think San Francisco made sure he wasn't going to have his best day.
I agree. This is an odd Haggerty box score because he was 2 for 9 from the field, but his 2 makes for from 3.
Yeah,
2 for 3 from 3 for PJ Haggerty, which is definitely not the norm.
Yeah, maybe it is. I mean, in the past 2 games.
Path trends have said that is not the norm. Very, very odd box score. I do want to touch on this. I don't think we talked about this at all in the pod. This is definitely wasn't the first time, but during practice leading up to this game, Haggerty and as well as Tyrese Hunter, they just didn't practice.
Yeah,
they didn't practice and they just played
before the Ohio game too. That's
before the Ohio game,
straight games.
They're dealing with this knee stuff, so I don't think that's something that can go understated. These guys aren't practicing at all before.
Do you think maybe that's why these first halves are slow? They're playing their way into it.
I think that's definitely a possibility. They're getting into the flow of basketball because they haven't practiced, and especially when you're playing a Friday game, and then you don't play again until the Thursday. It's almost a week that you're not doing any basketball activity really, and they're coming in and they're just picking it up, and PJ Haggerty's playing 34 minutes after not practicing. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and that's something with this limited roster. You only have, I guess, 10 guys if you want to count Dink Yates and Jared Harris, but you really only have 8 rotation guys. Something that comes with it is your best players are going to play more minutes. You know what I mean? Sure. And in the past, people have been mad that Penny's, rotating people in every 2 minutes and he's playing Jaden and Ashton Hardaway. Anyways, but now your best players are playing. Do you have that number of how much Hunter and Haggerty played?
Hunter played 29. Haggerty played 34. Colby Rogers played 30 also, despite the 4 fouls
despite
with 15 minutes left in the game.
Yeah, and your best players are playing more minutes, which is going to lead to good things. So
just have to keep them healthy.
Yeah,
that's the drawback here.
Yeah, they didn't practice all week, and they came out and got a win. Got a win in the second half.
Against a good team, like we said. I mean, this team, San Francisco. I think if you just want to, in a nutshell, understand how good of a win this was. Memphis opened as, I believe, 1.5 point favorite, and pretty much immediately that line shifted to San Francisco by 1.5. Pit money was going in on San Francisco at home, and Tigers came into this one as road underdogs. And I say this in college basketball, it doesn't really matter who you play. Going on the road and winning is hard. It's very hard to do. And Memphis did that, and they got it done. I mean, it's an great win. Best win of the season so far, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And because of this game, the fallout of this game, you look at it, Memphis moved up to number 33 in Ken Pom, number 34 in Torvik. They're right behind Arkansas, which is interesting. That it's cool. There's some good names around you to see that Memphis is kind of working to this level. And then I'm sure we'll talk about it more, but on Monday, you have this great test of UConn. But before we get into that, we can get some final thoughts on what this San Francisco game was. First, it was kind of an ugly TV product. It was a hard watch.
I agree.
Because
very tough watch.
Mainly because it was really poor shooting, right? And then the biggest problem was the refs just weren't letting the kids play. Do you have that number of how many total fouls or I'll just keep yapping over here while you find that. But
Memphis had 23 personal fouls. San Francisco had 25.
Okay, so you have 48 total fouls.
Total.
And it felt like every other second it's just tweet. You know what I mean? And then how many total free throws? Because you're just stopping the game for free throws.
San Francisco 27, Memphis 31. So you're looking at 58 free throws.
58 free throws
in a 40-minute basketball game.
Yeah. So yeah, it just wasn't the greatest watch. I mean, obviously it was fun because the team that you're covering and the team you're invested in, and these players, they won, right? Right. And I don't know where you are on this. I don't know on the fan perspective, or but it's just fun when the team you wanted to win won, right?
Definitely.
but if I was an impartial fan in this, I was just watching just 2 teams that I wasn't invested in any way. I wouldn't have enjoyed this.
There's no chance I would have been watching.
This didn't feel like good college basketball, and you saw all this national coverage from Rothstein or just all these Twitter heads where it's this is the underrated game of the night.
Sneaky game of the night.
Sneaky game of the night.
At Chase Center.
At Chase Center, yeah. Oh, and that's another thing. This was listed as a neutral site game.
This reminded me earlier in the season when Auburn went to Houston and they played in the Toyota Center.
Yeah.
Game
Or like,
come on, man.
Or like the SEC championship in Atlanta
and
when Georgia's in it every year. Or last year Memphis football played against Missouri in St. Louis at a neutral. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I think it was Gaston tweeted out. He said, what did he say? He said San Francisco, like their starting lineups, they had like a whole video for their starting lineups, and then they also said you're visiting Memphis Tigers, even though it's literally a neutral site game, which was, and then on top of that, the announcers were certainly interesting. I saw a note that said one of the announcers was the same one from one of the Rocky movies, and I was like, I
did see that.
Yeah, I was like, well, he's certainly aged since then, or maybe I don't know. Some people might get mad if we're calling those guys out just because he was in the Rocky movie.
I honestly didn't have the audio on a lot of the game.
Okay.
I was watching the Thursday night football game at the same time, so I had that audio on. Yeah. And then even after that game ended, I just didn't bother to turn my TV back up.
Yeah.
on the basketball game.
Speaking of Thursday night football, we got Jameis Winston. We get more Jameis Winston quotes. What'd you think?
National treasure. If that man's speaking, you turn the volume all the way.
Yeah. Sorry, Tiger game. You're gonna have to wait. Yeah. And another thing was the odd, because there wasn't even that many people in the stadium. But it felt like I could only hear like crowd noise and like basketball noise. I barely hear what the announcers were saying. But when I did, I was mad I did. It was just the audio mixing was bad. Maybe I'm being picky and maybe I'm being bougie. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yes. The announcer called Baraka Koji, who has like after this game 14 career made threes. They called him like a fantastic catch and shoot guy, and he shot like.
Just throwing darts.
Yeah, and he made one, so they said that, and I get it. You kind of have to filibuster. I'm sure I'll do that at some point in my career, right?
Oh, for sure.
That's just I guess that's part of what comes with the job. But like, I don't know. I wasn't the biggest fan. And then Penny got the tech for being out of the coach's box. Did you kind of see what happened there?
No, I didn't. I didn't see what happened. I think just like everybody else, I looked at the TV and they were shooting free throws.
Penny has a tech. I think so. It was like a late call or like a bad call, and then he left his box and started screaming at the ref. But they didn't call a tech on him for screaming or saying anything wrong. I may be wrong. This was my understanding, and I watched it back. But I don't think the announcers knew either.
I don't think a lot of people knew.
I don't think anyone knew. I don't even know if Penny knew or the ref knew. The ref just wanted to blow. Anyways,
never know.
But they called a tech for Penny for being outside of the coach's box. That's what the tech was. Bro, do you realize every coach in all of college basketball gets out of like so far out of the coach's box? Like, do you see those clips of like, I know it's NBA, but you see like Taylor Jenkins like on the court playing defense.
I've watched Bruce Pearl coach basketball.
Yeah, literally.
A lot of times.
He's out of, yeah.
He dang near coaches the entire game on the court.
Yeah, I don't know. That also kind of felt
yeah, I
couldn't
believe they called that.
Yeah.
If that's what it was, indeed what it was.
Yeah, I mean, do you have anything else on this game? It'll certainly be, this win will like pay Memphis dividends come March, because if you're trying to get something better, assuming that you win the AAC, that's so far away, but the AAC is not looking fantastic as a basketball conference right now.
I do have one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
What do you think of the Penny uniforms?
The Penny uniform?
Seems to be love it or hate it.
I loved it. I really enjoyed the blackout. I don't know.
I think it's just like the bronze numbers that some people people either love them or they really don't. But I'm a fan. I think they're unique.
I think it's awesome that like everything is Penny branded. Is he the only coach in all of basketball where his team wears like his stuff?
I would have to think so.
I feel like that's kind of awesome, right?
I think that I think that's super cool.
Like you're wearing your coach's gear. I don't know. I feel like that's cool. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Nicholas Jourdain. After the Ohio game, Tyrese Hunter called Jourdain the Draymond Green of the Memphis Tigers team, and he lived up to that with 5 fouls. Yeah, and 7 points, 7 rebounds, and Jourdain he's just been really good this season. He's been kind of like a glue guy. I feel like
he's Nick Jourdain.
He's Nick Jourdain.
This is what you get with Nick Jourdain. This is my guy.
And that's what's great. You know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Super consistent.
And it's so easy to talk about all the good things after wins. You know what I mean? Like, let's say this Tiger team was 1-3 and they had lost all those games that they were down at halftime in. But it's easy to talk about the things that impress you. It feels like Jourdain just contributes to winning so much.
Winning player.
I don't know.
1,000%.
When he's on the court, good things happen. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was certainly an impressive. I don't know.
We could talk about him every game.
Yeah, that's
just
true.
About. He just makes winning plays every game.
Yeah.
I remember one specifically from last night. He had an offensive rebound where he wasn't even in the shot on the screen. He just looked out of nowhere and got it.
He just came out of nowhere.
Came in out of nowhere.
Yeah, and it's really nice to have players that you know, because, right, Dane Danger, you don't know what you're going to get because he's had one fantastic game and 3 games not as fantastic. PJ Haggard, he's new here. He's been great. He's new here. You just don't know what you're going to get. Jordan, you know what you're going to get.
You know what you're getting.
Every single game. And there's a certain value to that. It's not like what you're getting is a superstar, but he knows his role, and that might be the biggest difference between this year and last year. I feel like guys know their role.
He's extremely valuable. There's not a coach in America that wouldn't want Nick Jordan on their basketball team.
I think that's a really good way to put it. I think any coach would want Jordan on their team.
They would.
And it's, as far as like fitting roles goes, think to last year, these guys were all coming in as like number 1 options from different schools, but this year you even have Tyrese Hunter. He's coming from Texas. He's been he's played in the Big 12. He's done really. What did he average, like 10 and 6 last year at Texas?
Along those lines.
Something like that. But he's coming in, and I think he understands he's not the alpha guy, and that's really impressive.
It is very impressive. For sure.
I don't know. I feel like if I'm coming in from a program like that, and I'm coming into little old Memphis, so don't get mad at me for saying that, but it's like I feel like I'm coming in to be the guy, right? And not that he can't have his moments and have his games, but I think he's understanding that Haggerty is going to be ball dominant. And then today Haggerty understood, look, I need to get Dane Danger the ball in the high post and let him go to work. Because I think these guys care more about winning. And everything goes right. Everything's all kumbaya when you're winning, right?
For sure. Vibes are higher.
I think
going back to Tyrese Hunter, his Ohio game was excellent. He ended up scoring a lot of points, but the thing I noticed about him, especially in the first half, is he was distributing, like you said. He was getting the ball to open players, and I think he ended up with 5 assists or so in that first half of that Ohio game.
Yeah.
He's I think we talked about it back in maybe the first episode. He could be a guy that could step up and score when Haggerty's not doing it. And he didn't necessarily do that last night, but he's shown that he can. He's going to be incredibly important for this team.
Yeah. So on TigerSportsReport.com, Brian Moss just posted the per Rivals team rankings. Do you have any other thoughts on this game before we move on?
I think we've covered it all.
Yeah.
Good win for the Tigers.
Yeah, a win that'll help them come March for sure if you want to be a higher seed. Anyways, as far as talking about that seed, it's just Memphis Basketball predictions update. If y'all want to check it out, TigerSportsReport.com. It's just like per the Rivals team rankings, essentially. And we are indeed a Rivals podcast, so whatever Rival says goes, right, Landon? Right.
Whatever Rival says goes. It's gospel.
It's gospel, exactly. So after beating San Francisco 68-64 yesterday, Memphis is now projected to finish the regular season 22-7, 14-4 in the American. The odds that the Tigers make the NCAA tournament are up to 70%. That's a really high number.
That's a very high number. That's scary.
Yeah.
That's the danger zone.
and that's an increase of 6% since yesterday. I feel like one win.
That's a big increase.
I feel like
that's very large.
Yeah, just from one win. Tigers currently rank. Rivals currently ranks Memphis as the number 41 team in the country, and of course the number 1 team in the American Conference. So 70% to make the tournament. Listen to this: 42% to get an auto bid. I feel like that's like very high, right?
I definitely agree.
In this type of conference, and that's to credit Hardaway and this staff for scheduling as hard of the schedule as they did, because you have a 42% chance to get an auto bid, and in this really poor American Conference, if you're playing opponents enough to go, 23-6, 22-7, and still get an auto bid, that's really showing how good your resume is. And right now you're building that resume. And that's really all I have. Memphis is 55% to get the 1 seed in the American Conference, 42% to win the American tournament. Of course, that's so far away. And the scary thing is, an injury or two, knock on wood, could derail that just because of how thin this roster is. But for right now, things are looking really good for Memphis. And they play UConn on Monday in Maui at 1:30. Any thoughts on that?
It's UConn. That's a machine, as we've seen the last 2 years. That's going to be that could possibly end up being the best team the Tigers play all season.
Yeah.
Very, very well could be. I think that game's going to be interesting because we talked about in the past how Memphis does not like to play offensive basketball in the half court. They really play basketball in general in the half court. And UConn, that's what they excel at. Dan Hurley's just a maestro at coming up with these half court sets. Now UConn, they lost a lot from last year. Stephon Castle's in the NBA. Donovan Klingen's no longer there. Tristan Newton's no longer there. But they did bring back Alex Caravan, and he's just shooting fireballs from three. They brought in Liam McNeely, the 5-star freshman from Montverde Academy. He's been everything as advertised. This is still an elite team. They're number 6 in KenPom. They're 8th in offense on KenPom, 6th in defense. Mm-hmm. That's that lethal top 10 in both offense and defense on KenPom combination. Yeah, and they have it. This team's just a unit. I mean, this is one of those games where you're gonna have to make a few more shots than you normally would. Mm-hmm. You're gonna have to play your best game. But I think we talked about it. We hit on this in the last pod. For the long game, for their tournament resume in March, this isn't necessarily, not even necessarily, this isn't at all a must-win. This is not a must-win for Memphis whatsoever. Mm-hmm. They just have to go out there and they got to play with UConn. That's what they should be. Obviously, if you're a player or coach, you're looking to go win this game. Mm-hmm. But if you're a fan and you want to set some fair expectations, you should be expecting Memphis to go out there and compete and play with UConn and show that they can play basketball at a very, very, very high level against the team that's won the national championship the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, and you talk about how much they lost, but I don't really think that tells the whole story. I think we still know it's you. At some point, you have to respect the program. You know what I mean?
They've definitely reached that point. You have to respect Dan Hurley. If Dan Hurley's the coach there, they're going to be a damn good team.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to respect what he's built, and I don't know, this team's going to be fantastic. But I really like that point of this certainly is not a must-win. Of course, you want to go out there and it's fun to cheer for that. Of course, you should cheer for that, but as far as this game goes, you just need to play close. That's what you need to do, and
for sure.
And that's going to be incredibly tough to do. You know what I mean? Especially Memphis. A key to the game, I would say Memphis certainly needs to be a lot better in the half court because I think UConn is just such a solid fundamental team that they're going to make you play at their pace. You know what I mean? I don't think you can certainly try it and you can certainly get out in transition at times, but I don't think UConn's going to let you get out in transition for more than 8-10 points the entire game.
It's kind of like the old Virginia teams when Bennett really had them going. Yeah. They're just going to play Virginia basketball and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, exactly.
UConn does that to an even higher level, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to have to. Yeah. I mean, what are your keys to this game?
I think like you said, Memphis is definitely going to have to play their best game of the season in the half court. I do think Danger showed in that San Fran game that they are capable. I think your bigs being connective pieces, keeping the ball moving like that, I think that helps your half court game a lot.
Yeah. I think Danger in the center, if he's running things like that, I think that'll certainly be a key. I think he can, and because we know he can facilitate. I think he can really get the half court offense going.
For sure. And then, as I said, so far this season, the shooting numbers with Memphis have been good, and they're just going to have to keep that going. Also in this game, we're going to hate to hear it because it's been 4 games now. I don't know if this is a game where you can come out sluggish. And be down 10 at halftime. I don't think this is a game where you can do that. I think Memphis is going to have to play their best first half of the season, and just kind of show UConn they're there with them. And who knows, maybe you come out in that second half if it's close at halftime. And this is also UConn's first big test. Mm-hmm. Respectfully to the 4 teams on UConn's schedule, I can't recall all 4 of them off the top of my head. And they haven't played anybody worth of noteworthy so far this season.
And that's why we don't have an extensive UConn scouting report. You know what I mean? And I don't think Memphis has one either. You know what I mean? Because you don't really know exactly, because you still essentially have to respect the program, but you don't know what this UConn team is.
Definitely,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, they got Caravan back, but other than Caravan, it's a new roster for the most part, at least in the rotation. So yeah, I mean, for this group outside of Caravan, this is going to be their biggest test so far, by far, not even close. And it should be interesting.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about what you know about the Maui Invitational pool. So I'm looking at the teams. It's going to be Auburn, Colorado, Dayton, Iowa State, Michigan State, North Carolina, Memphis. That's a fairly.
This is loaded. This is the best preseason tournament each year normally.
That's loaded.
And I remember when this field came out last year, I was rubbing my hands together. I'm not.
You're feeling devious.
Yeah, I like college basketball, but I definitely prefer other sports to it. I'm pumped to watch this tournament.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving week, it doesn't really get better than this in the regular season of college basketball. But right, Memphis UConn's that's game 1 on Monday, and then like Colorado, Michigan State, and then Auburn plays Iowa State. It's gonna be another excellent game. That's based on the AP poll right now. That's number 4 versus number 5.
Wow.
We'll see if that changes Monday. But Dayton, North Carolina again is gonna be your 4th game. And then I believe it's just winners play one another, losers play one another, and then.
Do you know what time the AP poll comes out on Monday?
It's either noon or 1 o'clock.
Okay.
One of those. And maybe it's 11. It's around that noon window. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Yeah, I think it is at like 1 o'clock Eastern, and then Memphis plays UConn at 1:30 Central Time, local time. It'll be 9:30 a.m. Hawaii time, or you know what I mean. But I think I talked about this before. I'm not sure. A little game note is Memphis was in San Francisco last night. You know what I mean? They're flying. They might be in the air right now on the way to Hawaii, and UConn's traveling all the way from Connecticut. So Memphis, might have the game advantage.
For sure. Yeah, because the travel's really something to be said. It's a long flight. Now, they do get there a few days in advance, so they maybe get used to it. It's not like you're playing the next day.
And thing about Memphis is what this San Francisco game told us is that Memphis's defense is going to travel. You know what I mean? They're going to have that defense wherever they go, whether it's in Hawaii or whether it's in Memphis.
For sure. Going back to program respect, if you want to talk about one thing you're going to get from a Penny Hardaway team, they're going to guard.
Yeah.
They are going to guard. They're going to play defense. They're going to be aggressive. They're going to be physical.
Even if you get even if you put a walk-on Dink Yates in, or if you put in a freshman Jared Harris. That's what I like about Jared Harris. He's not really in the rotation fully, but he plays hard, and that's really cool to see from a four-star freshman. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Looking at this Maui pool, it's Memphis versus UConn in game 1, and then the game. If you can look at the bracket online,
I got it pulled up.
Yeah. Right below it is Colorado versus Michigan State. And then the winner of those 2 games will play each other, and the loser will play each other.
I believe when it's all said and done, everybody's going to get 3 games here.
Yeah.
They place every team at the end. There's a champion, and then second, third, fourth, fifth, so on.
5th, 6th place, 7th, 8th place game. Yeah, and you're gonna have a chance to play, either Colorado or Michigan State was the other.
Michigan State.
Excuse me.
That's correct.
Yeah. So you're gonna have UConn, and then it goes tomorrow? Well, Monday. Sorry, Monday, and then the next game's Tuesday, and then the next game is Wednesday.
Right.
What's scary?
It's all consecutive.
Yeah. So what's scary about that is this Memphis defense is going to travel, but when you only have 8 guys in the rotation, it's in a tournament setting. You know what I mean?
This is definitely where it comes back to
huge test because
huge test.
You talk about how Memphis is going to guard. Sure, they might. They might guard, but you can't do it for
what happens when you're playing your third game in 72 hours?
Yeah. What if let's say you're playing the 5th place game, you lost to UConn, and then you won a big game. And you're playing against, I don't know, Auburn, Iowa State, you know what I mean?
Right.
And these maybe North Carolina or something again, these programs have 5 stars. They have 14 4 and 5 stars on that roster.
They're deep.
You know what I mean?
They're deep. I've watched a few Auburn games this season.
Okay.
Auburn's 10 deep.
Yeah.
And that's just one of these teams.
Yeah. And Auburn, North Carolina, Michigan State, those teams are just going to have guys. You know what I mean? They're going to, and UConn too. They're going to be able to go deep on day 3, day 4 of the tournament. Or I think it's just 3 days, right?
3 days.
Yeah.
Monday through Wednesday.
Yeah. So on day 2, day 3 of the tournament, can Memphis go? That's something I'm really interested to see.
Definitely. Yeah. Like you said, it's even quote unquote even field for all teams because they're dealing with that as well. But they have deeper rosters. So yeah, Memphis is just going to have to go up against these teams with more guys and. We'll just see if Memphis can keep their legs under them. But, one game at a time. They got UConn Monday.
That's true, yeah.
The main focus, yeah.
Yeah, that's of course the main focus. You can't you can't go halfway, or you can't go 10 deep against UConn in order to preserve yourself for the next game. You know what I mean?
Right. I think Memphis would be fairly happy.
If you're up 40 or down 40 with 5 minutes left in the game, you can do that.
You can. Yeah.
But
right.
if it's at all within question, can you win this game or can you lose this game? You have to play your guys.
You have to. Yeah, I think Memphis would be more than happy if they beat UConn and then everybody's tired the next day and whatever the next game is. That's fine.
Yeah.
UConn would just be that good of a win.
Yeah. Oh. Landon, what happens if Memphis beats UConn? Like, do we hang the banner? Does Beale Street
They're going to start drinking the Kool-Aid. That's what's going to happen.
I feel like we're already doing that. But no, we will certainly.
I'm being careful. I saw what happened last season.
Yeah, I like how we are. Every time we say something, because Memphis has been impressive. They've been a good team. Yeah. But every time we say something good, we have to back it up with. But we don't know. We don't know.
We've seen this movie. We've seen this movie too many times.
Yeah. And it's so. I don't want to be a hater, guys, but this could fall apart so easily. It's been so impressive. I don't want to take away.
If you don't believe that, then you got to take the blue and silver glasses off.
Yeah. And it has been so impressive, and it's actually been fun basketball. I've really enjoyed watching Memphis play basketball.
I think that's a great point. I think this team's been enjoyable.
Yeah.
Which even when Memphis is winning games, that's not always something you've been able to say.
That's true. Yeah, and they've done it in different ways. They've won games in different ways, and I think that's the biggest thing that's creating optimism is you're not winning games in one way. So Memphis, they were down against UNLV and Missouri. They were down at half, but they played so well in the second half for those games that it wasn't in question who was going to win. Down the stretch, right?
For sure.
At the end,
it never felt like they were losing.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. But against San Francisco, you really had to grind it out, and that's why I like that win so much, because it just showed you how many different ways Memphis can do this. You know what I mean? And that's what this battle against UConn is going to be. You're going to have to take that, what you had down the stretch, and bottle it up for 40 minutes. And that's your only hope of winning. Rivals' team rankings has Memphis with a 25% chance to win this game. What do you think about that? Let's. I think
that's about as good of a number as you can hope for.
I wonder if the betting odds are out.
I was just thinking the same.
Let's see. Can you filibuster? Can you yap into the mic a little bit for me?
Man. It's a neutral floor, so it's not like either team's going to be getting
neutral
that home floor boost.
Memphis.
Looks like right now UConn's going to be -4.
Whoa.
Which that's
okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so I guess Vegas is also
Tigers
believing.
Get some credit here.
Yeah, Tigers get some credit. They're only a 4-point underdog.
Against the number 2 team in the nation.
Yeah, I want to say that
UConn, by the way, number 2 in the AP, number 6 in KenPom.
Yeah. So. I want to say that will probably end up moving towards UConn.
Oh, I would think so for sure.
If you're a Tiger fan and want to bet that, I'd say wait. We're not a betting podcast.
We're not here for betting advice.
Certainly don't take betting advice from me. But I would assume that would head towards UConn's way. But yeah, that's really impressive. Only 4-point underdog against number 2 team in the nation, against maybe the best team you'll play all year.
Sure.
I just pulled this up. You talked a little bit earlier about how we need a tournament named Danger. He actually had a really nice tournament. But then we saw what UConn did to Illinois last year in the tournament. That was just a total massacre. UConn ended up winning 77-52, but the game wasn't even that close.
That's what they did to every team they played.
Yeah, that was a fantastic run.
The last 2 UConn tournament runs have just been unbelievable.
Yeah.
To the extent of which they beat their opponents.
Yeah.
It's so hard to win the big dance 2 years in a row, much less do it in the fashion UConn did it. It's one of the more impressive teams. It is. A 2-year run of a program I've seen.
And that's why this game is so pivotal, because UConn might be fraudulent, we don't know. Not fraud, but they might not be the UConn of the 2 years past.
We just don't know yet.
Fraudulent's overstating it.
Yeah, fraudulent. Yeah, no, UConn's going to be an awesome team, regardless. But
they may be. What if they're like a fringe top 25 team, right? And they might be a team on Memphis's level, but this is the first chance. That's why there's so much optimism, because this is the first chance that UConn can show it. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know. It's like when Tennessee beat Alabama in football or something, right? It was it wasn't the same Alabama team of years past, but it was Alabama's first showing of cracks. That's a very far out example, but
it makes sense.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
This could be the first showing that UConn isn't the team, and it'd be really cool if Memphis got the credit for kind of showing that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I feel like it would be not only a resume builder, but a word of mouth program
I think the national image,
national
the
image
national
builder. I think
image
that's what it
around
could be.
a Memphis win over UConn would be enormous.
Yeah.
Probably bigger than what it really is. Which,
exactly.
That could be a good thing or a bad thing.
I think it would be bigger than what it really is. Of course, it would be a great win, and I don't want to downplay that, but I get what you're saying. I think that's a really good point. Anyways, going back to Dane Danger, last year against UConn in the tournament, he had 9 minutes. Only played 9 minutes. You can't put too much stock in this. 0 for 3 from the field goal, 0 points, 0 assists, 2 blocks and a turnover.
I don't care. If you only play 9 minutes, I'm not going to do anything.
But he can. Maybe he understands. Maybe he's giving him good notes in the film room or something.
There's also no Donovan Clingan.
Yeah,
they don't have the 7'2" paint beast anymore. So
yeah, that's the biggest thing.
Different.
Looking at their roster, their starters are Alex Caravan, Liam McNeely, Solo Ball, Aiden Mahaney, and Samson Johnson. Samson Johnson is their big. He's a 6'10" senior. I don't really know much about him.
I haven't. Like I said, I haven't gotten to watch the Huskies play yet. They just haven't played any notable games.
Yeah, that doesn't make you a low ball knowledge character. That just UConn had a cupcake schedule up until this fantastic tournament. Yeah.
Which credit to them, or if you're wondering, how has UConn not played anybody in the first 4 games, and Memphis has, or whoever has? UConn plays in the Big East, so their conference schedule is going to be gauntlet, whereas Memphis isn't really going to be up to that standard.
That's true. Yeah. But this team isn't. It's not a UConn of past where they have Adama Sanogo and Donovan Clingan.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They've just had. They're not. Had a really good Big Ten.
They might be as good as those teams, but they're not as big as those teams. Is my point. You have Samson Johnson at 6'10", who's a starter, and then going down to the 4, you have Alex Caravan or Liam McNeely. Those are both your forwards. And then they're both 6'8" and 6'7", respectively. And then you have Solo Ball, Aiden Mahaney, both at 6'3". So Memphis is certainly an undersized team, but when Moussa Cissé's out there, Memphis matches this at minimum. You know what I mean? Memphis matches the size, and that's, I don't know. Just thinking UConn and thinking blue blood, you would think Memphis, because they are a smaller team, is going to get like outsized. They might get out rebounded. I don't know. But Memphis should be matched up pretty fairly well with these guys.
Yeah, UConn's never been a team, at least in this Hurley run, that goes super deep. So that probably could be an advantage for Memphis. Hurley's also a coach that just plays his best guys, whether that's 7 guys, whether it's 10 guys. He's going to play his best team.
That's true. Yeah, and off the bench, UConn he's actually been their 4th leading scorer. Yeah, Terrace Reed Jr. He's been their 4th leading scorer, even though he's off the bench. He's averaging 12 a game. He's also 6'10", so you have some size off the bench, but you can't really take into account just box score watching. You can't take into account how deep this UConn team is because they've been up 40 every game, so you don't really know who Hurley's going to trust if it comes to a close game. And according to Vegas, this is going to be a close one. Only a 4-point spread.
This is a big opportunity.
Yeah,
Memphis is a huge opportunity to go out and play the best of the best.
Yeah,
and really see where you're at.
Yeah, so this tournament is going to happen Monday through Wednesday next week, and then we'll be back Friday to talk about it. Memphis will have this game against UConn under their belt. They'll have 1 of Auburn, Colorado, Dayton, or 2 of Auburn, Colorado, Dayton, Iowa State, Michigan State, and North Carolina also under their belt. So it should be a really fun tournament for Memphis. Landon, any thoughts before we get out of here?
I think we hit the nail on the head with this one.
Yeah. It's been a really fun episode. Just 2 fellas talking ball. I love college basketball. It's one of the best times of the year. Y'all enjoy Thanksgiving, enjoy college basketball, and we will see you next time.